Uh, Hi there, this is Christ follower Jonathan here, and for those just joining the debate, we're discussing the events that happened in 1 Samuel 15, verse 2 and 3, and I quote, "Thus says the Lord of hosts, I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel, how he ambushed him on the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all they have, and do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey." So my question is, what did the Amalekites do to Israel? 1 Samuel 15:2, and I quote, "He ambushed him on the way when he came up from Egypt." And I quote Deuteronomy 25:17 through 19. "Remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you were coming out of Egypt, how he met you on the way and attacked your rear ranks, all the stragglers at your rear, when you were tired and weary, and he did not fear God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord your God has given you rest from your enemies all around, in the land which the Lord your God is giving you to possess as an inheritance, that you will blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget." And I also quote Exodus 17, verse 8 through 16. Last one here. "Now Amalek came and fought with Israel in Refuting, and Moses said he said to Joshua, 'Choose us some men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand.' So Joshua did as Moses said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And so it was, when Moses held up his hand, that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands became heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Write this for a memorial,' or in other words, a remembrance, 'in the book, and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.' And so Moses built an altar and called its name, 'The Lord is my banner.' For he said, 'Because the Lord has sworn, the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.'" So long story short, the Amalekites sprang attack on the Israelites at Refuting. That is what the Amalekites did to Israel. They sprang attack on Israel at Rephidim. They didn't just kill soldiers, they killed the weak, the old, the weary. They had contempt for human life and for God and for God's people. They had no fear of God before their eyes. So now we can start the debate again. Okay, open air atheist. Since you disagree whether God, and when I say God, I'm talking about Jesus Christ. Since you disagree whether God was just and merciful in defending Israel, sparing the children from dying a slow death of starvation, thirst, and exposure, and since you disagree with sending these children to eternal peace in heaven, do I hear you right? You are admitting that it's okay for someone to murder you. How would you personally feel? I mean, how would you feel if someone murdered you? You are admitting that you cannot defend yourself, your families, your nation, etc., etc. Would it have been better for the Amalekites to have continued to live in their sin of murdering defenseless people, attacking God, baptizing these babies to the devil, and seeing those children grow up to be hell-bound devil worshippers who would die in their sins and thereby go to hell for all eternity? Is that what you want? It sounds to me like you're actually saying that it's okay to murder weak, defenseless people. I can't believe my ears. It sounds to me like you're actually saying that you would rather see those children dying a slow, horrible death of starvation, of parched lips with thirst and exposure to the sun, just dying in the heat. I guess that would be more merciful in your mind, open air atheist. But no, if God had done this, then open air atheist, you would be complaining about that way as well. I really can't believe my ears here and what you're saying in my response video, because you actually would have allowed the babies to die a slow, painful death? Wow. It sounds to me like you're saying that you approve of baptizing babies to the devil. It sounds like you would have actually wanted the Amalekite children to grow up in their sin. I mean, this is twisted stuff you're throwing at me here. Even though these Amalekite children had been baptized by Satan, baptized into Satan by their parents, dipped in blood for Satan, you would actually want these poor children to grow up and live a life of sin like their parents and then go to hell and burn forever in hell. Just admit it. That's what you want, isn't it? If open air atheist was a divine being, he would have the right to challenge God on his actions here. And he would have the right to challenge God in these areas. But since he is not, he has no such right. What right do you have to challenge God in these areas? You know, it really is ironic. It really is ironic, open air atheist, and you don't even believe in objective morality, that you can classify God's actions here as a moral atrocity. Is that what you're saying? Is that what I'm hearing here? How can you even say that? How can you even suggest that it was morally wrong for God to do these things? Are you actually suggesting the taking of an infant's life is immoral? On what basis can you make such an objective moral claim? And why is that basis to be considered objective? If you have no such basis for these claims that you're making, then it's meaningless claims that you're saying, and it bears no truth at all, but it's just your opinion. It's your opinion, and that's it. Are you a divine being? I mean, are you a God? What gives you the right for you to exalt yourself over God in this way and to issue judgment against God? Do you think that you are God? Do you think that you're a God? Do you think that you're a divine being? Now as to your comment saying that I'm committing an is-ought fallacy, as stated by David Hume, I have committed no such fallacy. As far as creating a value judgment from an objective fact, you do that all the time. You have to make judgments all the time, or you cannot go through a normal day in your life. When you wake up, you have to make judgments on what you will wear for that day, what you will eat for breakfast, what you will and will not do, and who you will and will not trust to come into your own home. In fact, your whole argument that God was wrong to kill these Amalekite children and send them to heaven, that is an is-ought fallacy as stated by David Hume. Your entire argument against me or against God doesn't even make sense, because you are passing a value judgment that it was wrong for God to do these things, and instead he should have saved all the Amalekite children from death, and as you said, snapped his fingers and poof, there would have been enough food, enough pancakes or whatever for all these babies to live um, for all their lives forever. Well, yeah, great idea, open air atheists. Fatten up these kids until they grow up to be hellbound devil worshippers. Yeah, great job. You are committing the taxi cab fallacy here. The taxi cab fallacy, just to remind everybody, is committed when one hops in and assumes a certain system of thought or worldview, this worldview being Bible-believing Christianity, in an attempt to make a particular point, but then you jump out of this system of thought when it suits your fancy. This is illogical. There's no logical consistency here. This is a logical fallacy. You are committing the taxi cab fallacy. Once again, your problem is not with me at all. It's with God. So take it up with God, open air atheist. God's law is holy, and yes, it's his law, not my law. It's God's law that is holy. God is not a man that he should lie. He is holy, and God will not bend his law for you. It's God's laws. You do not get to play God and make up God's laws for him. Do you know the Ten Commandments? Have you served other gods other than Jesus Christ? Have you done that? Have you made a false idol out of anything to worship that idol instead of the true God? No? You haven't done that? Have you spent more time watching more TV or doing more drugs or drinking more alcohol or even watching more American football or spending more time thinking about evolution and atheism than you spend time on reading the Bible or resting in God or fellowshipping with Christian believers? Have you done that? These are false idols. Have you used God's holy name and turned it into a curse word? Have you done that? Have you always remembered the Sabbath day and kept it holy? Have you dishonored or disrespected your mom and dad in any way? Have you ever murdered anyone? Have you done that? Oh, no, you haven't? Jesus said, whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raka, will be in danger of the council, but whoever says, you fool, will be in danger of hellfire. That's from Matthew 5:22. So have you done that? Have you been angry with someone? Have you hated someone and murdered them in your heart? Have you? Have you ever committed adultery? Jesus said, whoever looks at a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in their heart. That's in Matthew 5:28. So have you looked at another human being with lust? Have you ever stolen anything, even something little? Have you done that? Have you stolen? Have you ever told a lie? Have you? Now, if you just said no, I don't know if I can really believe you. Were you ever jealous of someone else's life? Or these wonderful things that they have in their life? Have you ever done that? Have you coveted? If you said yes to any of these things, you have broken God's holy laws and are deserving of God's righteous judgment. And you need to stop playing games with God and need to stop playing God and stop playing games with his holy law. Repent and believe the gospel while it's not too late. Christ be yours.